Money, which is, business is about creating that money. Money moves through people. And so you focus on the people first. Welcome to the Soul Sourced Podcast, unconventional business advice for the highly creative, secretly sensitive, and wildly ambitious entrepreneur. I'm your host, Christine Kane. Let's do this. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 22 here on the Soul Sourced Podcast. And I always want to say, Vanta 22, thinking of Casablanca for any movie fans out there or Casablanca fans out there. Anyway, we're on episode 22, and let me just start by saying thank you. As I'm recording this, my book is about to hit the streets or whatever things hit in this pandemic. And at a time when a pandemic is still going strong and there's all kinds of political unrest, my book hit number 1 on Amazon in Women in Business. And I have you guys to thank for that. I really, really appreciate how supportive you've been through this. You've made it really fun. And it's also, of course, a lot of focus and a lot of work too. And www.soulsourcedbook.com is where you go to get your ticket to my upcoming retreat, which is online. There are no masks required. You don't have to travel, and you get to close out the year strong. All you have to do is to buy one hardback copy of the book, and you get to come to a retreat that in the past you had to fly to Asheville to take part in. You had to be in a $1,500 training with me in order to get a ticket. So it's a pretty good deal. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And my goal is to really set you up so that you close out this year really strong and you are ready to roll for 2021. I did an episode a while back and I talked about the practice of batching your time so that your brain energy is used for the right activity at the right time. And I mentioned the practice of what's called batching. So you batch 1 day per week or even a half day as your business development day. And I'm going to start by apologizing for something. I apologize for using the phrase biz dev in the title. I did that because I like to keep my episode titles short, but I genuinely cannot stand little isms like that, like biz dev. It's annoying. And it reminds me too much of internet marketers and all those guys who, if there's an annoying way to say something, that's how they'll say it. Like if they were going to be introducing this episode, they would probably say something like, on this episode, we're going to unpack your biz dev day and you can really move the needle and create a more robust business, because internet marketers love to unpack things. They love to move needles and they like to talk about things being robust. And I will tell you guys, I have been getting on acupuncture for about 20 years now. And all I know is that if you move the needle when I'm on the acupuncture table, you're going to get a Christine-shaped hole in the ceiling of the treatment room, which is how I first heard it when someone said move the needle. And I guess that is robust in some ways. But anyway, someone emailed me a question after that episode and she loved the idea, but she wanted to know, what do you do on a business development day? And I think it's a great question. And here's why. Because it is so much easier to just do a whole lot of random shit and call it working and feel like you got a whole lot done. But if you don't know how to put energy and attention toward developing and growing your business and then set up some kind of structure so that you'll actually create a habit of doing that, then you often end up being on the dreaded hamster wheel and then nothing changes. And it's always feast or famine, or what I call the crap cycle, which is an acronym for, I call it the cycle of reactivity and panic. And that's the crap cycle. So a business development day starts to be what moves you out of that cycle. And it requires that you have the discipline to step out of the day-to-day workings of your business and do the things that really have the potential to grow your business for the long haul. And these are the things that they don't always give you the dopamine hit that you want. In fact, a lot of times they are things that really require you to have faith in your business. And they require you to know that they're going to work for the long haul. They're not just instant hits. And we all love instant hits. And you guys have already heard me talk about the difference between being creative and reactive. Same letters, different spelling, entirely different results. Well, reactive stuff is the stuff that needs doing now, and the stuff that usually involves last-minute emails and client calls and anything where you get that instant hit of a feeling like you've done something. I call that the dopamine hit. So your business development day is really a creative day or a strategic day. It's a day that you devote your time and your energy to doing the work that will grow your business. And the challenge is that you don't get that instant hit. You don't get to check something off a list. You actually have to trust that this work will work. And this work does work, I promise you. And what that work is where we're going to start here. So firstly, let's talk about what you don't do on your business development day. You don't do your financials because that's operations, that's admin. That's not going to grow your business. It's good to do, but that's not what you do on your biz dev day to move the needle. You don't do your invoicing. You don't do your client calls. You don't reach out to people you haven't heard from in a long time. You don't try to drum up some clients. And you don't sit down and say, hey, you know what? I should really do my website and start flipping through all the websites you love until you're demoralized because everyone else out there looks like they're much happier and more successful than you. That's not what you do. In fact, if you've never done a business development day, your first one might just be you sitting and thinking about what you most need in your business in order for it to develop. And that's what I want to help you think about here on this episode, and perhaps inspire you to think about your business and take action from a different place. Because we have a limited amount of time on these episodes, I'm going to keep this very simple for you. When you have a service-based business, which most of us have, then growing and scaling your business are essentially about 3 key areas. The first is your peeps. So that's what I call your prospects or your clients or anyone you lead. And so that's sort of who's on your list. Who's your ideal client? How do they find you? The second is your communication with them. We will call it your copy, which means your message and everything about it. What are you saying and where are you saying it? Do you know how to communicate the value you deliver and what results you offer and even what your message is? And yes, we're calling it your copy, but it's also your videos or your podcast or your warm letters or anything you do that is communication. And even your emails back and forth with someone who might be interested in working with you. We will put all of that under the category of your copy. And the third area is your offer. And what that means is how you put together the service you sell. How is it assembled? How is it packaged? And of course, how you share this offer to potential clients. So in our last episode, number 21, I talked about campaigns versus transactions. So you would look at the sequence of that campaign on your business development day. And of course, now with the pandemic that doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon, all of us are looking at how we put together our services in a way that serves people now that much of our in-person work has been relegated to online. And some of us, we whipped it up at the last minute this year. And so now is a really great time to say, is this working? You know, I have clients who are music teachers and healers and art therapists and therapists. And this year we've had to really do some fast shifting in how their packages are put together. And all of us are going to need to focus on that and in how we are prepared for next year now. So on your business development day in these 3 areas, where do you start? And as always, my answer is going to be disappointing because there's always that it depends category. I don't know you or your business and you're not sitting here in front of me, but I can tell you that I always encourage my clients to begin with the end in mind. And what that means is begin with your offer, because then you can reverse engineer from there. And a good and kind of fun place to begin is to really sit down and think about the end point for your client. Let's say a client has completed their work with you. What has happened for this person? How do they feel? What's changed? What are they thrilled about? How are things working for them? At one of our M Club retreats, I had my clients write a thank you note to themselves as if it came from their ideal client. And the note listed out all the changes that person experienced just by investing in their service. And yes, it was very, very cool. It made a lot of people cry. It was a big, big deal for them. But what it really was a creative way to get people to reverse engineer how they're going to help someone get those results. And that one exercise can begin to inform how your offer is going to get put together. In order for a client to get those results and feel that thrilled, what would need to be in the service that you provide? And this takes some deep thinking. You have to consider a few things. You have to consider what is the best duration for you to work with someone in order to serve them, in order to get those results. And then how much time do they need with you in order to get those results? And how much of that time will be training that they might go off and do on their own? And how much will be you working one-on-one with them or in the room with them if you're a corporate trainer or something? Or even you doing the work if you're somebody who has a done-for-you service. It all depends on your model. And this is not just some bullet point list that you throw down and you're done with in a few minutes. So, for instance, just to give you an idea of how I think about this, I've referred to M Club. That is my mastermind. That is my coaching program. It is a full year program. And every time I sit down to review how M Club is put together, I always have this debate in my head because there are people who say, oh, you should make the duration of that shorter, like make a quick 3-month mastermind or even a 6-month mastermind. And while those would indeed be easier and even cheaper, I keep coming back to my ideal client. And this is me. This is my ideal client. I don't know about your ideal client. My ideal client, whether they know it or not, they often have to work on both the soul track and the strategy track. This is how I talk about business. There's a strategy track in your business and there's a soul track in your business. And what that means is that we may need to break through some mindset issues and obstacles along the way as you build your strategy. So for instance, just as an example, my client Carla just sent me a video testimonial. And in 1 year, she went from making about $35,000 a year to making well over $100,000 in her annual revenue, which sounds really cool, right? But through that year, as I was watching her video, I was smiling because she didn't just start raising her prices and then headbutting herself for all of the ass she was kicking. She had to consider her offers and how she had set things up, hours for dollars, and shift that. And then she got scared that no one would pay her that much. And then that person, whoever is struggling with that, they've got to be coached through that. And so she had to work up, on how she set up her sales. And we would call this her copy. And that took some deep thinking and more mindset issues. And my friends, that doesn't happen in a 3-month coaching period. In my experience, it just doesn't. This is cumulative. She moved from hours for dollars to putting together a package to learning how to sell and how to make the offer and feel authentic as she did it. That's what started to add up. That takes time. So for me, each time I look at what I offer, I come back to this fact that the very best duration is a full year. And many of my clients, they stay years and years and years simply because they start to learn that it's the regular check-ins, it's the big foundation. And every time you up level, you create new challenges and a new normal that, all then leads to the next level of your business. So that's key for them to keep on track. And that's just one of the aspects of that offer that I consider. You want to consider the duration. You want to consider how often they meet with you. You want to consider what other items that you include, what kinds of tools that might help them. And you really want to list this out and you want to name each thing. And is there more than one kind of offer that you have? In other words, are there different ways that someone could work with you? So maybe you begin and you have just one thing that you do, and maybe you get to a point where you add another one to the mix. So maybe you have a maintenance level or a VIP level or a mastery level. So that's one item that you're going to work on during your business development day. And this may take more than one session, I will tell you. And the great thing about doing this once every week is that all of this work not only adds up to grow your business, but the regularity of it helps you start to trust yourself. You start to build confidence as the owner of this business. And plus, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I really think our businesses like to get this kind of attention. I really do. It's a weird way to say it, but if you've been ignoring your business or avoiding it or getting pissed and frustrated, that's real energy you're bringing to this relationship you have with your business. What kind of attention do you give this thing, the soul of what you call your business? And isn't a once a week meetup to look deeply at it not worth it for the relationship you have with this thing that brings you so much good stuff? Okay, I'll stop with that. But it's really important. So next up, let's talk about the next thing, the second area. And it's what we're calling your copy or your communication. And this area is massive, by the way. It sounds all lovely and compact, but my clients usually start working on copy. They'll start it just for their sales process, like their warm letters or their sales sequence. And then we move into their onboarding and then every email they write. And copy and communication is an all the time kind of a thing. But for now, the first thing to consider here is everywhere you communicate with anyone. Like, make a list of all of your touch points. And that's another regular activity we do at our M Club retreats. Any communication, anywhere. And then look at that list and then ask yourself, who sees this? Like, is this something that is seen by my clients? Or is this something that is seen by prospects, like people who might become a client? Or is it seen by both? And if you see all of these places all laid out in front of you, you want to ask yourself, does that copy or the video or the audio communicate my message? Does it speak to my client? And do I even know what I'm saying? Or am I just using the autoresponder messages that came with this shopping cart I got? Is my voice present in each of these things? Am I present in any of this? And if you look at this list and you have no idea, then it's worth some of your business development time to be used for a little bit of deep dive. And that's where you're going to start being with, it's what I call the batter that goes into your cupcake tins. And I know that sounds weird, but if we look at all these touch points as being the marketing vehicles, I look at them like they're the cupcake tins in the recipe that you're making. That's the tin. Our content, our message, our voice is the batter that goes into them. And that is also something that I include as part of the soul track of business. It's not just your mindset. It's also your energy and your emotion and your message that goes into the content of your marketing. And so most people don't even bother to pause to consider who the hell they are in their copy, in their communication. They just kind of get it out of the way. But this is where you have to use this acronym that we say in M Club all the time, and that is I'm in. And that means you really start to step in and be with these core areas of your marketing batter, as I call it. At Up Level, I call this the Foundation 5. This is one of our tools because it's the foundation beneath your entire business. It is the foundation of your client path. It is underneath everything. It's the 5 key things you need to know. It's who you serve. It's the problems you solve. It's the results you deliver. It's the value you offer. It's the message you teach. Those 5 things. And there is deep work in each one. And guess what? I will be walking you through the Foundation 5 at my Click Retreat in December. So again, that's at soulsourcedbook.com. And you can come to Click if you buy a hardback copy of my book. And of course, we're going to be unpacking your Foundation 5 so you can have a more robust business development day and move the needle in your business success. And that brings me to the third area of focus for your business development day, and that is the client, the peeps. And the key thing to look at here is who are they? And where are they? And how do they find you? And how do you find them? And what you focus on in this area will depend on your business. And it will depend on the phase you are in and the challenges you face in that phase. So when there is a problem, for instance, in maybe a client had a launch that didn't go as well as they wanted, I will dive into, all right, let's first look at who is on your list. And is there a message to market match for those people who are on your list? Like, for instance, one of the most popular programs I've ever created in my business, it's called Vision Board Pro. And it teaches people how to host their own vision board workshops. But the person who signs up for that program isn't always going to be a business owner. Lots and lots and lots of people have done Vision Board Pro and they've created a little side hustle for themselves. And you can go take a look at it. I don't even know if it's up right now, but it's at getvisionboardpro.com. You can look at it if you want, just to see what I'm talking about. But they have no interest in a business. So if we look at the fact that I go and then I offer those people on my list a podcast called The Soul Sourced Business, and they don't open those emails, it's worth considering that I have a whole group of people in my world that don't even give a rat's ass about what most of my coaching is about. And that's the kind of thing that I have to think about. One of my friends just reached out to me and said, I think I need your help so I can dive into why I'm attracting the clients I'm getting here, because they aren't my ideal clients anymore. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I'm sharing that because this is something that you don't just, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. We're always looking at this stuff. And this is why you stay focused on the client that you want and the best match for you and where they are and how they find you, which is a service. Like, it's a service to them if you're clear about who they are. And this is why I make people do the Foundation 5 and go through their message, because it's a critical part of what keeps your business going. Money, which is, business is about creating that money. Money moves through people. And so you focus on the people first, always. And when you're focusing on people, one thing you have to consider then on your business development day is your list, which is it's the where part of your people. And in general, I teach my clients 2 different kinds of lists, and I'm keeping this super simple just so you'll get it here on this podcast. But one of those lists is a warm list. And this is especially for people who are early on in their business. It's how we start teaching people to build a list so they don't have to get overwhelmed by all of the online marketing tactics and strategies. But you start by reaching out to people on your warm list. And these are the folks you know and the people they know. It's about getting referrals. So one of the activities you might do if you're in phase 2 of your business, and I keep referring to phases of your business, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you want to go listen to my podcast episode about the phases of business. You would probably benefit from doing that first if you don't have a clue. But at phase 2, you would focus on building a warm list of every single contact you know. And then you would also, at the same time, always be focusing on growing that bigger list, what we're going to call your platform. Always building a list of people who aren't in your immediate world. And there are many ways of doing this. And one is to create value out there for free and build out opt-in pages and set up sequences for that to happen. And guess what? This is the kind of thing that you do on your business development day. And I know that can sound overwhelming, but don't make movies and jump forward and be like, oh my God, this is so much work. You start now where you are. That is the value of knowing where you're at in the phases of business. And I'll just emphasize the phase you're in your business is key to determining what you do on your business development day. And so many people, they start a business and they come to me and they say, well, do you know anyone who can help me design a website? I got to get a website up. And sure, a website's nice, but it'll probably be better to start making money first. And you can do that by just reaching out to people. Back to your list, writing really great copy, back to your copy, and understanding your message. And what's great about doing all of that is that when it's time to create your website, you already have a lot of copy written. You already know what your offer is. You've done your Foundation 5, and you've started to understand your client a lot better so that your site is more of a conversation and less of a presentation. And that's the mistake most people make with all of their marketing materials. And yeah, I get it. There is a lot here, but I am hoping that what I've just walked you through encourages you to think clearly and deeply about what your business development day is all about. It is a tough one. It is the work of the faithful, and you are trusting what you create will generate different results. And it's why coaching has been a game changer for me and for many of my clients, because it does help you to have someone there with you through that process. And by the way, I think you kind of get this now. Everything I'm teaching at Click is about growing and developing your business. It's about you getting more clients or attendees at your events or your workshops or your webinars. And the word click came from the fact that I would witness over and over again as my clients would get their strategy track and their soul track and their business to work and to align and to up level. And I would see how everything just started to click. And that's my goal for you. And so if you bought my book, you can go to soulsourcedbook.com and you can see how to get your ticket for the event. And the ticket price is indeed just one hardback copy of my book. And if the audio is out, you can get that too. And just real quick, one question I keep getting about the retreat is, will there be recordings of Click? And the answer to that is no. This is a retreat. This is work in the room. Even if it's virtual, we are all going to be in this together. This is not a half-assed kind of thing. We are all going to be whole-assed there together. This is where knowing you and me knowing me is important. So if you can't be there, that is totally fine. But I want everyone to be there. And you can listen to the podcast and there will be other events. But I really want people all to be there in the room, showing up for each other, kind of like our board of directors. And we're all there really with that intention to up-level our business. So I have no interest in sending out recordings and then hoping you'll do the work on your own. Coaching groups work because you have that accountability, and the help is right there at your fingertips. And that's my promise to you. So y'all, thank you for listening today. Thank you for buying my book, The Soul Sourced Entrepreneur. You have humbled me. Truly, it's been such a long time coming, and I hope that the book speaks to you at a level that shows you how to manage all the little energetics and emotions and the softer stuff that comes up when you are doing this hugely important work of leading people, whether it's your team or your clients or participants or vendors or partners or whatever it is you do. You're doing big things in the world. And I hope I have in some way contributed to that bigness and that up-leveling that you're doing. Thank you, everyone. I will see you at Click. And if I don't see you at Click, I will see you here on the next episode of The Soul Sourced Business. Bye, everyone.
No fast pace, no jaded